Good morning, everybody. If everything's working the way it should be working, welcome to Tallybook Troubleshooting live with John Blevins. We're going to have a great show today. I am excited to talk to this guy. This has been a long time coming. We've been trying to have this last time, and we'll get into the reason why we didn't have it a few months ago, but I'm excited to have him on the show. Very excited to get live again. It's been a little while since my last live, and we need to do this more often, have a little bit of fun. Tallybook Troubleshooting brought to you by American Safety Services. Great guys over there. Sorry, that's the way it happens when you're looking at a reverse screen here. I'm your host, Keith Stelter, trying to bring a little positive PR to the oil and gas industry. One live stream at a time, one little interview at a time, a post at a time. It's going pretty good so far. If you would have told me, 5 years ago, I'd be a 40-plus-year-old man doing live streams, interviewing folks, I would have laughed at you. So welcome to the show. If it's your first time, let me know where you're watching from. Throw the comments out there. Good morning to everybody, no matter where you're tuning in from. A couple great things coming up the pipe here for Tallybook Troubleshooting. We'll be doing all the interviews, being part of the official podcast party at the Permian Basin International Oil Show next week at the Ector County Coliseum. It should be a great time. 3 days, 17th, 18th, and 19th. We're going to be at the old museum area. We're also going to be doing some recorded interviews up in the skyboxes in the Coliseum itself. So come on down, reach out if you want to be part of that. We are going to be live, I think, every morning. Me, Matt Hill, and I think we're adding Sarah and another lady that I wasn't too familiar. I think they're coming all the way down from Pennsylvania. So shout out anything else you got going on. I'd also want to shout out my October 23rd Oil and Gas Workers Association luncheon. Man, those things are really taking off. Really appreciate all the support we're getting. We have 3 great sponsors already. It's blowing my mind. Elite Optimization. We have TXAM. Pumps, Johnny Garcia over there. Thank you, Johnny. And Natalie with Lightning Dome reached out. He's going to be our food sponsor. So thank you very much to all of them. Let's see. Good morning. Yes. Well, John's definitely a great guy. I'm just, middle of the road. Happy to be here. John, watching from Texas. Good morning, sir. Thank you. Richard. Yes. Houston. Philip. Great to see you, John. Looking forward to the conversation. I am too. It should be pretty fun. Leanne, good morning. I hope you're having a great day. Let me know where you're watching from. If you have any questions, put them on there. We'll get to a question period, or if it's so amazing, we'll pull it up right now. John has promised to answer a few questions as long as he's able to. And, you're tired of listening to me. Yes. Fellow Odessan right here. It's tired of me just prattling on. Watching from Denver. Damien, thank you, sir, for tuning in. Let's get the guy you actually want to listen to here and get him to introduce himself. It's been a long time coming. John, welcome to the show. Tell everybody who you are. I'm sure they already know, but let's do it anyway.
Hey, good morning, everybody. John Blevins, currently with Hibernia 4, post the Civitas buy and purchase. Been with Hibernia 3 since 2017. Before that, LS is a completion consulting. Ran a pretty large consulting firm there, and then Berry Petroleum, Bobco, Schlumberger, Sierra Engineering, a lot of different places, all Permian based. Kind of born and raised in West Texas. Came to A&M, graduated, was class of 94, took an extra spin year, got out in 95. So, good times, bad times, all the things through what we've done in the oil field. And, a lot of everybody on here, we've either contacted through LinkedIn, contacted through, all the things we've done, whether it be through charity organizations or actually activities in the oil field. So look forward to having a great time here today. Obviously my first ever podcast. So, I'm going to be learning a lot as I sit here and kind of try to listen to Keith and everybody else's questions and try to answer what we can. But, first off, guys, the headline of this thing is John Blevins and his thoughts on God in West Texas And with that, I'd love to start with a quick prayer for everybody, kind of get a quick prayer over everybody, get the morning started this way. So please, if everybody would just kind of listen for a minute. Dear Lord, thank you for a great opportunity to be with Keith and all who are watching and listening to this podcast. Bless each as we go through the day and the rest of the week. We ask for your love, guidance, and protection in everything we do. In your name we pray. Amen. So,
amen. That's a great way. That's the first. So if it's your first podcast, I think that's the first prayer I've had on here, even though when you couldn't make it last time, I had a great podcast. I don't know if you had a chance to check any of it out with Brandon Willis from ExxonMobil. And, he shared some pretty good testimony as well from, some life and death situations he was going through. And it ended up being a blessing in disguise. God's always got a plan, right?
He does, for sure. And he's one that you think back through how you and I got together, right? Some of the best people in the oil and gas industry. I mean, I use Janie Snelson. Janie Snelson's a mentor to me, been a mentor for a long time, mentor to probably a lot of the people on here. And she's the one that brought us together. And we sat out there in my trailer frac side and kind of had this conversation like, hey, we need to get together. And here we are.
Well, I can't believe you're blowing my mind in your first podcast. Aren't they beating down your door to get you on there and share your thoughts? You're a popular guy to just begin with, like just the outreach of people that knew you were coming on. They lots of people were excited. I can't believe it. So speaking of that meeting from the trailer, I have to ask you, I did ask you a question during that meeting about a certain statistic that gets used against the oil and gas industry. Do you remember what the answer to that question was?
Yeah, it was very, very low. And I don't remember exactly the number, but that's it.
CO2 0.04%. And the reason I had asked was because I was shocked that it was so low. And then I asked you because, you're all part of the oil and gas industry too. It's crazy that we don't know this number just right off the bat. So anybody out there watching, CO2 is only 0.04% of the atmosphere. So anybody who's doom and glooming, it's not as bad as it seems. Hopefully we're coming through clear here. The internet's working. I am in Odessa, so give us, a little bit of a break if we're a little choppy. Brader, we're doing great this morning. Great to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Brian Gray, what's up, Coach? It's a blessing. So much to come together. Now, we started with a prayer. We had some statistics. One thing a lot of people, I think, the first I want to start with is you every morning, or at least it seems like it's almost every morning or every day, you're sharing scripture on LinkedIn expressing your faith. Do you ever get any pushback on doing that?
So, yeah, it's kind of interesting you bring that up. So inside my circle, there's no pushback. We are a very faith-based company. We're strong in our faith and our beliefs and what we brought. And I have to give a lot of credit to Mark Hambrat, who's at Imperative Chemical. He and I got to know each other through this current Hibernia 3 when we started running their chemistry. Got to become really good friends, and he became a spiritual leader for me. He's the one that brings those every morning to me at 5:30, and I just get to read through it and broadcast it back out because it is such a moving testimony to him and the prayers that he sends to me every morning, and to goes back to everybody else. And in the background, messaging upon messaging, a message. Thank you for sharing that faith. It's something I look forward to every day. And there's so many people out there right now who, and it stinks, but it's just what it is can't broadcast their faith. And I don't know why, right? I don't understand why companies are not allowing your people to broadcast. We hear about all the other stuff, right? Let's call it stuff, but we don't get to take the word of God and Jesus Christ and live every morning and be able to broadcast that openly, whether it be a LinkedIn forum, whether it be a Twitter or an Instagram or whatever else it is, and people worried about what's going to happen to them. Me personally, I mean, man, I'm 52 years old. I've accomplished a lot. I'm still looking to accomplish a lot. But for some reason, what Mark has brought me and where my steps have started going, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm just an infant walking in here with this faith. I'm literally learning it every day. I follow it and do what we do. And there's a lot of people out there who've seen my heathen side of things, right? And we're not, we're all sinners, and we're all running through this, right? And the good Lord has spoken to me for whatever reason it is through Mark and his guidance. And every morning I see that, read it, post it on LinkedIn, and thank y'all for all the comments and everything that's there. But guys, we need this. We need this better, more than ever, in what we're doing in this society and the things that there is. And Keith, and I don't mean to ramble here just a minute, but this morning we had a Brazos Valley prayer breakfast. Willie Robertson was in that breakfast, and he truly changed some of the things I really wanted to cover today. And the first thing he said, if you believe the government's going to fix this, you have more faith in the government than I do. We need to change our faith and believe in the good Lord and what he brings to us, and change our beliefs, and us as a society, and us as the people, and us as what it is. Go out and get to the people with our faith. Go out and project what the good Lord has told us to go do. Don't sit in our little bitty holes and wonder why things are not happening to the way we want them to happen. The government's the government. They're going to be whatever it is, corrupt and all the other stuff that we all think is happening. But we've got one great leader. We've got one good guy that we need to follow. We've got one testimony that we need to read. We need as a group, and anybody on this show and anybody that wants to come talk to me, because again, I'm an infant. Let's go out and broadcast his message. Figure out how to get that out to everybody.
Well, why I asked the question is so a lot of people may be, playing with the fact, I would like to post more, or I would like to, start expressing that. Has anybody actually, with what you're doing, said, hey, John, you should tone that down?
Not at all.
And I was guessing that was going to be the answer, that's what I was hoping you'd share with everybody, is that if you are thinking of expressing yourself, don't be so afraid. And there's lots of support out there for you. Like, go ahead and do it. I think there's a, tactful way of doing it. But if you are on the fence, take it from this guy. I've expressed, ways on my show, and nobody's ever come up to me and said, hey, you should tone that down, or you shouldn't do that. Even my own employer, American Safety Services, Kevin, the owner over there, is like, hey, never be afraid to, express or post anything about that. We're a faith-based, company here. And that's kind of one of the great things why I chose to go there. I never really saw myself going to a safety company in the first place, but it's been a whole lot more. And it's been a great experience. So that's why I'm thankful for that you'd come on here and share this with us. And that, now that you have this faith and you have been sharing it, and you mentioned you're getting these messages, has it actually been a benefit in work in some way?
It is. And I say that, I use Janie Snelson as a mentor. She and I actually sat down and had breakfast one of the last trips I was in Midland. And we literally talked about Steve and how prayers that come through this, and the small world that we live in is such a large world upon that. And the ability to send out a prayer request on, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Instagram, it doesn't matter. But in all the people that come back through here, we had a huge tragic event that I posted about that happened in my immediate consultant family. I mean, one of the worst accidents that has ever impacted my life to that deal. And it's through faith that we look to the prayers for the Randall family and the healing that they're going through with the loss of their two kids and all the things that happened. The unity that came through, even to me, to Ellery, and things that Ellery has said to me over the course, it's incredible. The broadcast to what we have to do as a community. We are a small community, but it's a tight-knit community that we have to stay united with, and we've got to stay focused in. And yes, we've got an everyday job to do, right? And that is to do oil and gas production or whatever else it is that we're into. But we also need to get this message out. We've got to bring it in. And Willie brought it up right. We've got to get this to our kids. We've got to get this to our kids' kids. we're losing them through these stupid things, right? Through this, I mean, and we've got to have people like Keith. We've got to have people like Willie who are out there broadcasting a message that kids can hear, that we need to take this forward. And it's got to happen from a corporate world. It's got to happen from the small mom and pop world. And it's got to happen at the house.
I've given this a little bit of thought. There's too much, when it comes down sometimes to this messaging, and there's two sides. One side kind of looks at the other side, and they look at some of the, policies that come with being against faith and all the other sides. Our side, and I'm trying to, walk the line of politics and be as tactful as possible. But one side kind of looks at the other side and says, wow, those guys are so dumb. How could they think of any of that stuff? But at the same time, they can't be all too dumb, because they keep gaining ground and they keep winning over our kids. So I think that's the first step, is realizing that there's a whole lot more going on. And if you're just thinking, well, that's dumb and I don't have to do anything about it, the first step is showing up, start participating, and having a conversation. I noticed when I moved to the States years ago in the Barnett Shale days, and that was a while ago, that a lot of Americans were afraid to have these kind of conversations. Like, they didn't talk politics, they didn't talk God. And I was like, well, aren't those like some of the most important things affecting your life? And I think that has started to change, but I think that, is part of the reason we're in some of this difficulty we're in now.
Can't disagree more, and or can't agree more about all of that. It's a truly crazy thing to get there, for sure.
And so, kind of transitioning here to, a little bit of West Texas oil and stuff, with your faith, if you weren't as, and I think maybe we're on the same page, wasn't as strong in your youth as you are, getting a little bit in age. How has that affected, your career wise? Like, has it made you pause or, take some things a little bit better in stride? I know it's, I stress way too much on some things, and it's helped me kind of be like, hey, there's a reason why this is going on. What have you found with it?
As you bring, as we bring faith into your work, right? And the good thing is we've got a really strong group here, and whether it's support for for an employee or a consultant or whatever else it is, we've got to continue bringing those messages to everything. But at the same point in time, from me personally, it's been nearly a stress reliever, right? Because again, you can see the messages that pop up, right? You read a message in the morning, and the great, and I say this loosely, right? The good thing about these things is you can go find anything that you need to, right? And so you can find a message and say, hey, how do I pray over the anxiety that I'm feeling today, or the stress that I'm feeling today, or man, my lack of effort, or whatever else it is. You've got an ability to go out and look to the Lord and say, hey, help me. What is the message that I need to hear today, and carry that with you to your day. Bring the energy, bring some of the faith back to, hey, when it comes to a frac crew, I love my frac crews, and I love my guys that are out there. And 9 times out of 10, I try to say a prayer over those guys in every safety meeting, because man, they're the guys who are I call it the infantry, right? They're the guys who are out there every day doing the battles that have to happen to get us to where we are today. And you've got to have them safe. You've got to have them, focused on that task. And some of the worst accidents, one of the worst accidents I've ever had happened around Christmas. And you know why? Because people want to be home with their family. They want to concentrate on their families. And, as you get into these beliefs and you look to what we're doing, I got to a point of, hey, you know what, Hibernia, let's shut down on the 23rd and let's come back on the 27th. People don't believe that, right? But they do. You can ask a lot of different people. Now, I've had companies push back on that, right? And my faith in that is these people want to be with their family just like you do, Mr. CEO, Mr. COO, whoever, operations manager. And it works. It works. Those guys come back refreshed. They come back and they tell you, thank you very much. And it's worked over and over and over. And we prevent some of the worst incidents we've had. So grabbing faith, grabbing belief, grabbing family, projecting that from a corporate level at Hibernia down to the guy that's turning all the wrenches and the guy who's in the mud and the muck and doing the stuff. It's huge. It's huge.
I am surprised you got some pushback on shutting down like that, but it's what is the reasoning? Is that they lose a few days of revenue? Is that basically what they're looking at there, or what is the justification for not wanting to shut down?
I had all kinds of excuses, to tell you the truth, and I call them excuses. That's what they were. Well, my guys don't live here, or they're from here. I said that's why I shut down on the 23rd, and they can travel on the 23rd and then come back on the 26th or 27th. They've got the full 24th and the 25th with their family and can come back. Well, we're going to lose so much revenue. We're having to pay those guys. So I bet if you ask the guys, hey, if I gave you time off, would you take it unpaid? And I bet 90% of those guys will say absolutely, because I can be with my family for 4 days. So we heard it all. Believe me, and I fought tooth and nail, and some of them I won, some of them I
didn't. You never lose when you try and treat people well. Like sometimes it doesn't always work out, but I've noticed, the more you try and give out there, like the more that kind of comes back to you in spades. I really learned that during COVID. Like a lot of people, lost my job during that time and was looking for one, but we kind of made basically the decision, me and my wife, that we were going to give more than we ever had during that time. And so when things would pop up, like we would get randomly, we got a check back from the mortgage company because we had overpaid, or the little holding account there for your taxes and stuff, like the withholding. And so then we were like, oh, we weren't expecting this. So we would give a big portion of that away. And, we always noticed that the more we did that, the more great things came our way. So I find it, when you do that, like shutting down, giving the service companies the benefit of the doubt, giving those great benefits, I bet you saw that extra effort from the guys out in the field in spades. So great on you for sharing that. I hope more people hear that and take that to heart as well.
But my belief, and a lot of different people see this different, but the oil's been down there a million plus years, plus years, right? What's 4 days going to change in that reservoir or that frack or whatever else it is? That, means a lot more to the Jimmies and the Joes than it does to a Hibernia or an Exxon or you name one, right? It doesn't matter. That 4 days of production realistically is not changing a damn thing.
Do you see that? So, part of what we wanted to discuss here is West Texas and West Texas oil. Do you think, because there is lots of people I've noticed the faith out here is stronger than a lot of areas I've ever at least worked or lived in. Do you think that carries over to a lot of other companies? Do a lot of other people share that? Do you think you're in the minority or the majority for thinking that way?
I would say from an outward projection, we're in a minority, right? And it's just the way it is. There is a ton of West Texas small mom and pop companies like the Hibernias who are big in the faith and projected outwards to a lot of different people and allow their employees to do that, whether it be at the local church, whether it be at the baseball field, whether it be whatever else it is. There's an ability for everybody to give their faith and be part of that. I worked a lot of different basins, just like a lot of people on here, and I will exactly say that is I think West Texas, being the small knit community that we are, and really focused to the communities, you've got a lot of faith-based companies out there pushing and driving and getting it, whether it be in the education system, whether it be in the church, whether it be at the ballpark, whatever else it is. But I do, and you can go now. I haven't worked a lot of other regions in a while, but I would say that because of how spread out, you go to say a North Dakota, or you go to a South Texas, and not to throw those guys under the bus, but I'm I'm sure you can find the tighter knit groups locally, but from a broadcast perspective, I think West Texas probably does have a higher outspoken faith base.
I would agree to that. Is there anything else like in the culture of West Texas that I guess, as far as oil industry, that you wish would spread to some of the other basins?
And I've spent all of my career pretty much in the Permian Basin. Now I've been all over the world and done things all over, but the what people don't, and Keith, and I call it an outsider coming into West Texas. I mean, that's not where your career started. You're here now. And you find these mentors, these people, i.e. Janie Snelson, right? You find these people that literally take you, hold your hand, and want you to be successful. There's a lot, there is competition that exists inside the Permian Basin, but it's a friendly competition. And there are some cutthroat people, and there are some cutthroat ways of doing business, but the majority of people literally want to be part of the community, whether it's at the church, at the ballpark, at the school, at the cafe, wherever it is. You've got a little tighter knit group that tends to function even under competition to do some good. And some of the other basins I've worked in before, I mean, it's cutthroat, stabbing people in the back, doing things that exist still, but I would say that in West Texas, it doesn't appear to be as prevalent.
Or at least West Texas is big enough and busy enough that it can be swallowed up by some of the better stuff. So definitely, this is the place to be in my mind. And I'm very happy to have my career here now. I had an opportunity to come here earlier, and it didn't work out. But I am so thankful, for being here right now, especially through COVID. Excuse me. This place was handled it in my mind very, very well. My children never had to wear masks. They still got to go to school. The community really came together. I really appreciate everything this community has done for me and my family. And I'll always remember that and appreciate everything that's happened to me here in West Texas. So, just to share anybody out there that's, it's not as nice in the landscapes and stuff. The people make up for all that in spades, especially the Janie Snelsons and even the Roy Williams here who keeps throwing out. Kevin Sparks is another great guy that I've run into that is, speaking of Kevin, he's also now a politician, which the views out there is that, all the politicians are bad and stuff. I think it's just a matter of good people have to start getting involved and, and we'll see a change, because one thing Kevin kind of shared with one of our luncheons was that, the community or the industry of, politics around Austin is an industry all in itself. And those guys really don't get outside their bubble. And it's a wonder why, we all look at some things and be like, how could they do that? And a lot of it is our own fault. We don't go out and seek these people out and have real conversations with them. They stick to their own circles, or the very crazy outspokens do it. And, I think one of the things, if I could tell the people watching, is go out there and start participating with your local politicians. At least know who they are. Like, you can ask some folks, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's your local congressman? Who's your local state representative, John?
So state representative is Kyle Cassell, a real good friend of mine. We have lots of different community talk. And he's really outspoken to the way he's viewing things, at least to me. Now, some of the times he's not quite as outspoken when he gets outside the community. But Kyle's a great guy. Lives actually about 3 miles from me here in College Station. So now, Congressman, there you go. Now let's think about who that guy is. I have to get back to you on that because I'm not sure I know that.
So that's, the fact that your local state guy, that's great. The point, we need to know who these folks are so that we go out and actually communicate with them to let them know that some of the policies that are out there now are just, they're not acceptable, right? And you've got to fight back. And that's their job, is to represent the will of generally the majority, right? And it's got to happen one of these days. So sorry, we kind of switched gears there a little bit, but getting back to, Faith, you went through a major, merger acquisition here. And now I'm finding out this was your first to actually be part of. You weren't part of Hibernia 1 or 2. But you were officially part of 3, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, 1 and 2, I was acting as a consultant. Embry Canterbury, our CEO, and I've been friends since college. Was consulting for him on the completion side during 1 and 2. He stepped away from the oil and gas industry once he sold 2, and they got back in, and I guess really started talking end of 16. He came to me in March of 17, and then we formed Hibernia 3 in August of 17. So yeah, my first go at it, and what a learning curve it's been for sure.
So is there anything you can share, like, as far as, high level kind of stuff of that learning curve? Like what was it like to be a part of that?
Sure. No, and I've always been a kind of a nuts and bolts guy, an operations guy. And once you get into, the documentation, the amount of turns that has to go back and forth. I mean, we've all negotiated with a new car, or we've negotiated on a house, and typically that's about 2 to 3 ping pong balls that go back and forth, and everybody kind of stacks hands and go, "Hey, perfect, we're done." This is literally staying up from 8 o'clock in the morning till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Lawyers in the room, everybody going back and forth, and lots of different colorful language that goes back and forth when you get into negotiations, and how this thing back and forth. And there'll be 400 of those meetings that happen. And you finally all come together, and you kind of sort of clap hands, or you kind of sort of stack hands, and then it comes together. So I really never understood that piece of the M&A type of transitions and all the things that have to happen in that. And then the amount of even post closing, the amount of other meetings you have during this transitional period, and the education of our side of the facilities, and our side of the way we complete things, and our side of the way we drill things, to difference of, using the Civitas world. I mean, they're a DJ basin company, and they really didn't understand a lot of what was going on in the Permian. They have some technical people that have been in the Permian before, but they're a little removed from it. So it's been interesting just on how I've assumed, right? And we know what that means, that they would just be able to come and go, boom, bye, see you later, John. Nope, that's not the way this is working. And so it's been a great learning experience for me. And believe me, there's been many a prayer said as we went through this process, from starting in kind of January to our closing date on 8/2.
Can I ask you, because I'm curious, how does, a deal like this come along? Does Hibernia advertise that, hey, we're for sale, we'd love for somebody to come on down? Do they reach out to particular people? How does it, or does someone go, hey, have you guys thought about selling? Like, I know it's happened before as Hibernia 3, but maybe this was the one where you guys wanted to build up. How does that, can you share a little bit of how that goes?
Sure. No, the process was unique to me because I've never been through it. But you'll have some groups coming to you and making pitches to you. Say, hey, look, here's what we think your company's worth. Here's what the marketability looks like, so on and so forth. And we had actually kind of considered this in the summer of 22, and we kind of saw some softening in the market. So let's pull back. The in-cap trifecta goes down, and we get some more interest inbound from it. Get some other guys involved, and JP Morgan kind of came to us, and they kind of won the pitch, and went out and went to anybody that wanted to listen on who Hibernia was and what we had to offer. And then kind of starts a bidding process at that point in time. So it was way unique to me as the way the process goes down. And again, being an operations guy, you just wake up every morning, you go turn a wrench, and you go do what we needed to do and solve those types of problems. But there's a whole different type of deal that goes through in these M&A deals that I had to learn through the process.
There's a giant M&A happening as we speak, I guess. I think they finally have decided or closed, or if it's official, the ExxonMobil merging or taking over, however it's being portrayed of Pioneer. With those major kind of things, and you had lots of people too. A lot of people are nervous. What will happen to me? Will I be a part of the new venture? Will I be, let go? Do you, being a tight knit group, do you guys go to everybody and explain what they're, what's going to happen? Or is it just as it goes? Or is there anything you can speak to on that?
Sir, the one thing that when our deal happened, the human aspect was the most valuable resource that Civitas needed, because they don't have acreage that overlays the same acreage that we have. So that for us was probably the easiest thing to communicate, as to, hey, look, jobs are going to be available because the Civitas team does not have a Permian Basin presence, and they're going to need you to continue running this asset. So that's not ours. Now, whether it be, the excellent Pioneer deal or any of these other deals that have gone on where we've got some assets that kind of lay each other, and lease operators. I use a lease operator as when he's driving by the same wells that for Pioneer that Exxon or XTO has. How does that look? And I can agree. I mean, there's going to be a casualty that's going to happen in that merger, and we've seen them in everything we do, right? And I pray for those guys. Once I heard that, it's like, okay, that casualty, and then all of the service providers that are out there that are currently working, and you're going to see some form of change, right? And don't know what that's going to look like. Whether it's going back to having the big boys back in with the big boys, or whether the little guys like I was at LAS or Sierra Engineering in the consulting world, being able to continue having the working relationships with the Exxon, now that I may have been working for Pioneer, but my relationship continue with Exxon. So it's going to be a very dynamic transition, especially in the Permian Basin.
Well, in the past, a lot of, especially from the operator's perspective, a lot of guys really didn't see the need for networking or whatever. They stuck to their circles. They had their, providers. They were happy with that, and they went about their thing. And I hope at least 2020 taught a few people, with a lot of the layoffs and stuff, that networking and getting out and talking and knowing people is more important than ever before. Because like you said, that guy who's looking over a few leases, or an engineer that's looking over property that might be let go, I hope he's been talking to a whole bunch of other folks to know what other opportunities are out there. And that's where things like this, getting out there and getting the name, because there's lots of times where I'll ask people to come on, hey, tell your story, come share, get to know some folks, and they're like, we don't do that, or I'm nervous or something, where it's like, then my biggest regret, being in operations for as long as I was in wireline, was that I didn't go out to enough events and get to know enough people, that when 2020 came along, like I was scrambling. And thankfully LinkedIn has helped me make up a lot of that ground. But my advice out there right now is get out there, join some associations, volunteer, and make sure your network is strong, because you never know when your company is going to be the next M&A, or next to be bought, and you're going to be looking. And that's where church comes in too. So circling this back to faith, that's a great place to work with great people, to share what you got going on. How did your faith, I guess, briefly mentioned you prayed about a few things. Was there any particular example where you really needed your faith on your last deal where you're like, man, I'm not too sure about this, and what's the real answer here?
So it's kind of funny as you bring that up, because I got a call one night that we're literally at the tail end of getting our closing documents done, and basically got a message that said this deal's off, it's going away. We're at an impasse, and literally right then I'm like, okay, dear Lord, whatever happens is going to happen in this deal, but if we're keeping this thing, let's keep it and let's move forward. Let's close that door and keep going, because that's really where we were. We were at that junction of, do we just continue developing this thing out till 2028, or do we get rid of it right now and try to move forward with that? And you just say prayer, Lord, provide us the guidance that we need to move forward, and the listening skills. A lot of the time, people want to be first to talk, right? And I've always said this 1,000 times. I want to be the dumbest guy in the room. I want to surround myself with the smartest people in the room, and I want to be the guy who's listening. And it took a while for me to learn the trait, but in this negotiations and doing what it is, sometimes you just got to hear the other side, and it'll calm the heads down. Let's go rest on it, and it worked, right? And that's just one of the places where you say a little prayer, and we move forward with what it was. So
that's an amazing, knowing that it came that close and then cooler heads prevailed. That's, the story of this year, right? Like, certain things that happen, I'd get upset, and you just gotta realize, don't make any decisions when you are upset. That's silly. Don't send any emails or make any phone calls when you're upset either, because you'll, write that email and then just let it sit there, and then come back in an hour and read it. And do you really need to say all that stuff? And you probably will make the decision, nah, it's probably left best just to say nothing. And you're right. Cooler heads generally prevail. Where do we?
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you for just a second, Keith, because I want to kind of say something to these guys who are out there, and especially the ones who are kind of maybe on that fringe of losing their job and everything. Guys, one of the things, and I say this to guys much older than me and guys much younger than I am, is remember that phone call, that email, that's something from somebody else who, in a lot of people say, I don't have time to talk to that guy. You know what? You may have just given that guy the opportunity to stay employed. And a lot of people on this podcast and that are listening to us right now, I hope y'all hear me and know that I typically will return the email or return a call, no matter if I know you or I don't know you. And nothing more than, hey, I was on that side at one point in time. I was in those shoes of trying to make these calls to get things going and trying to provide for my family and provide for the people who are, and have the faith in making that jump and that phone call. And if you can, again, I understand there's 24 hours in a day and everybody's covered up with work, but a 2-minute phone call, a 30-second text, a 10-second email can go back and forth and create those relationships and create that openness, show that you're open to receiving other people as part of this small knit oilfield group that we do have. So if you can't, always be responsive to whomever it is. And I hope that
it's the only way to
maybe some comments.
So the only way to get, innovation, like if you don't open any new doors, how would any new technology ever come in? That's why I was always, guys need to start coming to some of the events, like operators or midstream guys, just to see what's new out there, right? Like, I know it is difficult to change. I've seen a lot of guys with the attitude, if it's not broke, I'm not going to fix it, because if I try something new and it fails, I'll get fired or something. And, that's awful, because the oil industry has been one of the most innovative industries that there is, right? Like, when there's a problem, there isn't a school to go to, or there isn't another company. They have to figure it out themselves. So there's been some very innovative people here. And I think, when we've stopped, sharing information, that's where we've kind of slowed down some of our progress too. So I've been very fortunate. We got a lot of great people coming up to our oil and gas workers association. Like I'm just shocked. People from Oxy, Chevron, Birch, CPX, P66 and stuff, and where it was just like, holy crap, okay, this is great. People really want to find out more about some of the regulations. So it's awesome to see these people get out there. And big thanks to, my company and Kevin for giving me the time to do things like this and participate there, where it, hopefully the benefit too, you see what they're willing to put their money where their mouth is and support organizations. And I think there's lots of great companies that do that. And it's good to see you saying something like that that you'll return that. Well, I was going to ask the next question, how does a salesman who would love to talk to you about your next drilling program or whatever, he's got the next magic, solution. Is an email the best way? Is it how does he reach out to a guy like you to approach you?
It's pretty interesting. So a lot of the times email is obviously the best and it's quickest, right? It's one of those that we can dialogue back and forth, and I always say this: I love talking on the phone, but a phone call typically is going to last as long as this podcast, right? And and I'm not saying you're wasting 45 minutes of your time, but between the two of us, we could accomplish a lot more maybe through an email or a text. And then let's have a face-to-face meeting if there's a demo or things like that, or whatever technology it is. Sometimes you've got to put your hands on it to figure it out, right? Whatever the model looks like. So we set up the meetings or go to lunch or do something like that. But for me, it's email introductions, text introductions are typically fast and furious and fast. The best way for me to get there, and then obviously setting up that next appointment.
Anybody got any questions out there for John? Throw them in the comments here. We'll bring it up on the screen and we'll see what John has to say. We're gonna have a hard stop at 11 o'clock here, so we are coming down to 13 minutes left. One question I have, you had this merger, and I'm assuming you did okay. And I'm assuming you probably helped support some, I don't know, charities or profit or something. Is there any, those associations or charities you want to shout out that, do come to mind for, I don't know, that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, there's one. There was a movie that came out, Sound of Freedom, that really got into the sex trafficking deal of kids and where it is, and it's a huge problem, right? And Mel Gibson obviously did his part in it, but there's a group out there, Victor Marks. Anybody knows Victor Marks, has watched Victor Marks, you'll see him in videos dismantling guns in people's hands. He's a teacher of hand-to-hand combat for our military forces and other stuff. He and his wife, we got to meet them through through the loss of a good friend of ours, and that support and what he does, and we got to sit on the back of a tailgate after a funeral service, and just sit and talk about where he is in the world and how he's gone into, whether it's Thailand, Vietnam, whether he's gone to Kansas City, Pittsburgh, wherever it is, and rescued young women, young girls, even boys to that degree. I mean, it's not, it's not prevalent just to one sex, right? It's happening to all of them. And he's got a huge charity event or huge charity that Nicole and I gotten behind, and we're going to try to work with them to bring an event either into the Houston area or somewhere around in this area of College Station to help more awareness to his charity and really get more awareness to it, because any kind of support that we can provide to those guys, and you're never going to squish that bug, but at least minimizing that bug as best we can is what we're looking to do. So that's the one. If I was to speak of one, that's who it is right now.
Well, if he ever wants to do a LinkedIn live stream, send him my way.
I will for sure.
when's your next trip to the Permian? Are you going to come out for the International Oil Show or next week, or you already got plans?
We will not be out there next week. I believe it's 2 weeks after that I come back out.
Excellent. Well, maybe you can carve some time out for me, and we can we'll follow up here on some of the feedback that we get from this. What about, so you've started Hibernia 4, correct?
We have. We started Hibernia 4. Looking for a place to scratch in the dirt right now. Like a lot of people in the Permian Basin, everybody wants to be in the Permian Basin right now. So the ability to find it and go do it is a little bit more difficult than it was when we started in 2017. But we've got a great team. Team has stayed together. We've got a great team that will work towards it, and hopefully we'll be operating in the Permian Basin soon.
Excellent. So does that mean you might look at a little operator and try and make a deal, or that's too much information to share?
Yeah, I would love to say that I can say, but too much information to share.
I figured. It's 51 minutes. I don't know if anybody's still watching at this point. Who knows? It's just I didn't even see a comment from my wife. So I am thankful that everybody has tuned in and shared some comments. And I was hoping we get some questions out there, but maybe we covered everything and everything. I don't know. I had a good time. What's your feelings? This is your first podcast, 51 minutes in. What's your thoughts? Too bad?
Absolutely. No, it's great. And guys, I've watched a lot of the comments come across and man, keep moving forward. Right? If I was to close with one thing, it's literally keep moving forward. Whatever that is, and make sure you keep the Lord in your day, and keep your Lord in your business. Let's do that, right? Let's keep pushing forward, and we've got to keep the message going. We've got to keep it going.
Yes, sir. And hopefully we shared a little bit here that if people were on the fence on whether they should share publicly or not, there's really no need to be afraid, because from two of us, like I said, I've never got any pushback saying, "Hey, I can't deal with you anymore with all that." Like it's so hopefully we'll see a little bit more out then and kind of help spread the word. Cody, thank you, Cody. Kelly, thank you, sir. And once again, closing up Permian Basin International Oil Show next week. Tally Book Troubleshooting. John, you can't make it out, so you could watch a few of those episodes, right? It'll be like you're there, right?
Yep, should be on.
I'm gonna text you in the middle of one. Be like you're watching.
Yeah.
Right? Got nothing better to do. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
October 23rd, Oil and Gas Workers Association. Reach out, get some tickets. Well, we're about half sold out at this point. George Bush Center should be pretty good. We got Kirk Edwards as our speaker. We have Ray Trevino, Pecos Country Operating as our guest MC. He's the host, he's the guest MC, but he's the host of the Crude Truth. Another great guy. I'm sure after this podcast, Ray's going to be reaching out and begging you to come on his show, John. So get ready to get inundated, right?
Perfect.
You ready? Excellent.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Anything else you want to mention, John? Shout out. We got one charity, one any other associations, nothing. You're good. I'm good. American Safety brought to you. Tally Book Troubleshooting. It is a great safety company, training, rescue, environmental. We even have production services, kill trucks, and all that good stuff. Come check us out. Once again, thank you, John. Appreciate it. And till next time, everybody, that's how you troubleshoot. Have a great day.
All right, guys.